Snow falls softly over a secret Nazi base on the Baltic coast. Concrete ramps stretch toward the sea. Rockets rise like silent spears into the winter sky. And across the frozen airfield, a man who weighs just 38 kilograms walks toward a German bomber. He is a Soviet prisoner, starved, beaten, forgotten. In less than an hour, he will steal that aircraft from one of the Reich's most guarded weapons facilities and deliver intelligence that could change the course of the war. But when he finally reaches Soviet lines, he will not be welcomed as a hero. He will be treated as a suspect. This is the story of Mikhail Devyataev, the man too dangerous for the Nazis and too suspicious for his own country. Months earlier, July 1944, Devyataev, a Soviet fighter pilot, is shot down near Lviv, captured, interrogated, and like thousands of Soviet POWs, he knows the rule. A captured Red Army officer is already considered compromised. Execution is possible. So he does something desperate. He takes the identity papers from a dead soldier, a man named Nikitenko. If the Germans discover he is a pilot, he will be executed immediately. Under the false name, he survives. But he does not behave like a broken prisoner. He attempts escape again and again. Eventually, the Nazis label him what they call a dangerous subversive. He is transferred to Sachsenhausen and then to a remote labor detachment on the island of Usedom, Peenemünde, one of the most secret weapons sites in the Third Reich. If the guards discover who he really is, he will not survive the week. Peenemünde is not an ordinary base. It is where the V-2 rocket is tested, Hitler's vengeance weapon. From here, rockets are launched toward London and Antwerp. Entire neighborhoods disappear in seconds. Concrete bunkers, rail spurs, testing ramps, and aircraft, including a Heinkel H-111 bomber used for transport and testing. Devyataev notices everything. Guard rotations, fuel trucks, which mechanics drink too much, which aircraft are left unattended for minutes at a time. He studies the runway like a starving man studies bread. He quietly gathers others. A mechanic who once worked engines. Kutugin, small, sharp-eyed, who can impersonate a guard. Krivanov, strong enough to swing a crowbar without hesitation. One evening in a freezing barracks, Devyataev whispers, "We steal a bomber, or we die here." No one laughs. They all understand. They have one chance, and if they fail, they won't be shot. They'll be made examples. February 8, 1945. Snow begins to fall. Visibility drops. This is their cover. Krivonyagov walks behind a guard. One swing. The body falls into the snow without a sound. Kutugin pulls on the uniform, adjusts the cap, keeps walking. 47 minutes, Devyataev mutters. That's how long they estimate before the absence is noticed. They move toward the Heinkel. 2 German mechanics are nearby. The prisoners overpower them, force them at gunpoint to start the engines. The cockpit smells of oil and cold metal. Devyataev climbs inside. His uniform hangs off him like a curtain. 38 kilograms of bone and willpower gripping the controls of a Nazi bomber. The engines cough, then roar. Minutes pass. The aircraft begins to taxi, awkward, uncertain. They are not trained on this plane. Ground crew shout in confusion. Why is this aircraft moving? 30 minutes. A truck turns toward them. Too late. The Heinkel lurches forward, snow spraying behind the wheels. The runway stretches ahead like a frozen river. Devyataev pushes the throttles. For a moment, nothing. Then, the aircraft lifts. They are airborne. Below them, the secret base shrinks into white and gray. Alarms begin to sound. Anti-aircraft guns fire. Black bursts of flak tear open the sky around them. They have no proper maps, no radio coordination, only instinct. They turn east, towards Soviet territory. One engine begins to sputter, possibly damaged, possibly frozen. A flicker of flame. Fuel is limited. 20 minutes, someone whispers. They fly low to avoid radar, low enough to see forests rushing beneath them. Too low, and Soviet anti-aircraft might mistake them for enemy bombers. Too high, and German fighters could intercept. The cabin is silent except for engine vibration. No one speaks of what happens if they are forced down over German lines, or what happens if the Soviets shoot first. 10 minutes. Snow-covered fields stretch ahead. Then, distant artillery flashes. Soviet positions. Devyataev lowers the plane. The landing is rough, skidding, almost collapsing. The Heinkel slams into snow within territory controlled by the Soviet 61st Army. For a moment, there is silence. They see Soviet uniforms approaching. After months of camps, home. The soldiers surround the plane, weapons raised. A German bomber has just landed. From inside emerge Soviet prisoners, starved, filthy, wearing stolen uniforms. The first question is not, how did you survive? It is, why are you bringing us a German aircraft? In Stalin's Soviet Union, captivity equals suspicion. Interrogations follow. Counterintelligence officers assume the worst. Are they collaborators? Spies? Why did the Germans allow this? Devyataev explains about Peenemünde, about rockets, about launch sites and testing ramps. His information proves accurate. Soviet forces later target key facilities. The V-2 program suffers disruption as Allied and Soviet forces close in. His intelligence matters, but his name does not. For years he is treated as compromised, a man who survived too well. His escape, one of the boldest of the war, fades into silence. Sometimes the bravest acts are buried by political paranoia. Time passes, the war ends, the world enters the Cold War. In 1957, more than a decade later, Devyataev is finally awarded Hero of the Soviet Union. Recognition, delayed, cautious. Soviet rocket engineers, including figures in the emerging space program, value the intelligence he brought from Peenemünde. Information about the V-2 contributes to early Soviet rocketry. The same knowledge that once powered terror over London now helps power humanity toward orbit. A starving prisoner who weighed 38 kilograms helped expose a secret weapons base and indirectly helped lay foundations for the space race. Yet outside specialist circles, his name nearly vanished. No grand monuments, no immediate parades, just a file that almost stayed buried. On a winter morning in 1945, a skeletal man climbed into the cockpit of a Nazi bomber. He had 47 minutes before discovery. He had almost no strength left. He had nothing to lose. He escaped one of the Reich's most secret bases. He delivered intelligence that weakened a terror weapon. And when he came home, he was treated like a criminal. A man too dangerous for the Nazis and too suspicious for his own country. History remembers the rockets, it remembers the bombers, but it nearly forgot the prisoner who stole both from the enemy and handed the future back to his side. If you want more untold stories and hidden truths of the past, subscribe to Mask of History. Because sometimes the greatest acts of courage are the ones history almost erases.